What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is Question and Answer, episode 15. I tell the good jokes. All right, so like I said yesterday, this is episode 15, and we're going to call this the end of season 1. Reason being is I have to start guiding again, not every day, but quite a bit, and it's going to be hard to do 2 videos a week. So I'll still be committed to 1 video a week, and I'm thinking about doing some other stuff like maybe a live stream once a week or something like that. But anyway, just keep in touch. More content coming. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Maybe turn on those bell notifications. And if you want to make sure that you get everything I send out, sign up for my email list. I have put a link in the description. Thanks in advance. All right, let's get to these questions. Okay, so my favorite Albanian, Nick Fly Fishing, wants to know, when will the Seychelles happen again, and can I go? The answer is, I don't know, and sure. Put it together, Nick, and I'll be there. Okay, so Holy Grail Flies wants to know, least favorite fly to tie and favorite fly to tie, favorite emoji. Least favorite is anything small with a bunch of hackle. Favorite is my super easy to tie popper. I'll leave a link to that somewhere up here, how to tie that one. My favorite emoji is the laughing out loud one. Of course, right? Ben W. Crane wants to know, what are your favorite fly rods of all time? Reels too, if you have the time. My favorite rod of all times is probably gonna have to be my first ever really nice rod I got, and that was an 8.5 foot, 3-piece, 5-weight Winston rod. It was the most expensive rod I ever owned up to that point. My good buddy Larry, who owned the Austin Angler, actually let me pay it off over time because I did not have the money to buy it all at once. I caught a ton of fish on that rod. I actually let Joan Wolf cast that rod when I was a member of the first ever Wolf fly casting instructors course, and she had just started working with Winston, and about a year later, that rod was the one that she picked as the Joan Wolf favorite. So the 8.5 foot, 5-weight Winston. I don't own one at the moment, and I actually don't really fish much with a 5-weight anyway, so that is probably the rod I have the most memories of and would say, yeah, that's one of my favorite rods, but I don't have one at the moment. Anyway, thanks for that question. That's a good one. Took me down memory lane. Okay, so Fat Boy on the Fly wants to know, how do you modify your cap to fit? And also, if I don't have the body type for the cool Howlers thread, can I still rock their lids? Of course. As long as you can get the hat on your head, you can definitely rock it. Now, I actually can't get the hat on my head without cutting it open in the back here so the dreads poke out. So that is how I modify them. Just one snip right up the back from the bottom of the hat to the little button on top, fold it back, and I'm good to go. Thanks for the question. Chopper Steve 03 says, hi, Alvin. Hope all is well. Yes, doing great. Well, I would like to know your opinion on Echo rods. Keep up the good work. I don't have any Echo rods at the moment, but I have owned quite a few in the past, and I think they're great rods for the price. Thanks for the question. So B. Prokoski says, hey, buddy, looking forward to a trip I have booked with you this fall. I'd like to know, have you ever gone in the drink from the polling platform on accident or on purpose? And I've actually only gone off the polling platform once. It was definitely an accident because it was midwinter. I was all bundled up. It wasn't my polling platform. It wasn't even my boat. It was another guide's boat. And my excuse for this happening was the fact that this guide's boat, the polling platform, was at the very rear of the boat, so there's no boat behind the platform. On my boat, there's actually sponsons behind the platform, so you can step off the back of the platform and you're still in the boat. Well, I forgot I wasn't on my boat, stepped off the back of the platform, and splash. Luckily, I had multiple layers on, only soaked the outer layers, so I was actually able to fish the rest of the day and not freeze to death. But that kind of stuff happens sooner or later. Anyway, thanks for the question, and I'll see you this fall. Halston Banks wants to know, what do you think of foam frogs compared to deer hair frogs? So I prefer the foam ones mostly because they don't get wet, they don't get waterlogged, they're always floating. For me personally, they're super easy to tie, but there's some amazing deer hair frog patterns that I actually buy. Occasionally I'll tie one. But there's something about the deer hair that you can't really imitate with the foam. And if I want something that's going to dive, I actually would go with the deer hair because it gets kind of soggy and will dive and work a little bit better in that situation than the foam will. But I'm pretty much a foam guy most of the time. Anyway, thanks for the question. All right, so John Dozier wants to know, have you ever used tube flies for smallmouth and redfish? And I have not. If you have some patterns that you think might work, send them my way and I'll give them a try. Thanks for the question. Okay, so Arctic Char LF wants to know, how often do you change wheel bearings? How much of a difference does fresh and salt water make on your bearings? Do you know a miracle seal bearing that can last forever? The answer to that last question, no way. They never last forever. They never last as long as you think they're going to last. Definitely going to need to change them out sooner in salt water. Man, that is a real tough question. It really kind of depends on how often you use a trailer, how many miles you put on the bearings, how often you dunk it. I actually, on my skiff, try to never get the bearings wet, because that's in salt water. So I've got a dry launch trailer so I can launch the boat and get the boat back on the trailer without getting the wheel bearings wet. So that makes them last a lot longer. But, just depends. I would say at least yearly. And, every 6 months for somebody like me, I got to be, either re-greasing them or replacing them. So it is quite a struggle. I'm trying to think. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trailers, and pretty much all the time, one of them needs some bearing work done. So yeah, if you find that miracle sealed bearing that lasts forever, please let me know. Thanks for the question. Okay, Frank Mangieri. I hope I said that right, Frank. Frank wants to know, what would you say is a fair tip after a glided trip? I'm new to fly fishing, and if I saved up enough money to book a trip with a guide, how much does one tip? 20, 30, 40%? Man, definitely not 40%. I would think a 15 or 20% tip is good. Like if I get a 20% tip, I'm happy. So, just go with that. That's a pretty consistent rate most places. I know tipping is sometimes a controversial subject, but trust me, the guides appreciate it, especially if your guide is working for an outfitter because, part of that money is going to the outfitter. The other thing is, if you can, tip in cash, because a lot of times the guides are using that cash, to make it to the next day. So they're buying gas with the cash. They may be buying dinner with the cash. And a lot of times they've got expenses that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and they may only get paid every couple of weeks, especially if they're working for an outfitter. Now, independent guides are different, but trust me, they're working just as hard for their money, and they really appreciate the tips. So 15, 20%, or if you just had an amazing trip, just give them what you got. Anyway, thanks for the question. Okay, so last question. Daniel Loveland wants to know, would you rather guide a beginner or an expert? Now, I have to say, if somebody hops on the boat and they tell me first thing that they are an expert, I usually get a little bit nervous because a lot of times that is sort of like the beginning of a tough day. If somebody hops on the boat and they say, hey, I'm not that great, or, I'm an intermediate, or I got some stuff I need to work on, more often than not, that person ends up being an amazing angler. So I'm going to say maybe not the expert, but a lot of people hop on the boat and they don't proclaim themselves as an expert. They're great anglers. We have an awesome day on the water. I can show them everything I know. I can say, let's do this, and they can do it. It can be really good fishing with a competent angler. But on the flip side, it can be just as much fun, sometimes even more fun, fishing with somebody who's a total beginner. Maybe not a total beginner, because a lot of the fishing I do is maybe tough for a total beginner. Throwing bass bugs or sight casting to redfish is definitely more advanced. But someone who is competent in their casting and just needs to figure out the specific techniques to make it happen, that's great. I love showing somebody and helping somebody, advance to the next level, so to speak. So I really like fishing with, less experienced anglers and more expensive anglers. I mean, it's the best job in the world as far as I'm concerned. So there's really not any bad clients so far. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching this video. Like I said, probably going to take a little break on the question and answers, but don't worry, they'll be back. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Sign up for my email list if you haven't. I'll see you in the next one. And in the meantime, good luck on the water.